Never go to Camp Taylor. 2017, and a group of hikers decided to visit one of the country's most haunted destinations. As they entered the camp, a fog set in. Then came the feeling of being watched. They reported seeing a ghostly figure standing in the fog looking directly at them as they were setting up for the night. Then the sound of children laughing, but it was the screams that kept them up all night. One man even said that he could feel the hand of somebody on his leg as he was trying to sleep. The next morning they packed up, cut the hike short, and left as fast as possible, vowing to never return. What if you heard the sad lady crying? As the sun set over the Rio Grande, Maria heard a faint sound of wailing in the distance. She had heard the stories of La Lorena, a ghostly woman who drowned her children in a river and now roams the earth searching for them and crying out in grief. But Maria had never believed the stories to be true. As the wailing grew louder, Maria's fear began to grow. She quickened her pace, desperate to make it back to the safety of her home before nightfall. Suddenly, a figure appeared out of the darkness, a woman with long flowy hair and a white dress soaked with water. "Miss Helios," the woman cried out, "where are my children?" Maria turned and ran, her heart pounding in her chest. She knew that she had to get away from La Lorena. She didn't stop running until she reached the safety of her home, where she locked the door behind her and prayed that La Lorena would never find her. Don't climb the Indian steps. One dark and stormy night, a group of teenagers decided to test the legend. As they climbed the steps, they could feel a strange presence watching them from the shadows. When they reached the top, they heard a blood-curdling scream and saw a ghostly hand reaching out from the darkness. Terrified, they ran back down the steps and never dared to return. To this day, the legend of the Indian Steps remains a source of fear for people of York. Photos with disturbing backstories, Part 1. This 1970s photo is a girl by the name of Jeannie Wiley after being rescued. Her dad had kept her in a straitjacket tied to the bathroom toilet, leading her to never learning to speak or walk. His parents drugged him, but you won't believe why. For as long as Kevin could remember, on Christmas Eve he was given the magic pills. The tradition was to eat at 5, get into their pajamas, and then watch a movie, take their magic pill around 7, and then sleep hard through the night. When he was young, he didn't question it. Santa wouldn't come unless they were asleep. But as he got old enough to know better, he started questioning why he still needed the sleep pills. This Christmas Eve, he hid the pill underneath his tongue, then spit it in the toilet, laid in bed, and waited. It wasn't long until he heard rustling around in the living room. He waits until the noise stops, tiptoes to the door, and looks out. Right when he was thinking that this is all crap, he noticed movement outside. He looks through the window and sees these creatures crawling on the roof of his new neighbor's house. They go down the chimney, and then the screaming started. It was their daughter, as the creature was pulling her body through the small chimney, ending up dead and disfigured. Scared, he ran to the bathroom, popped 3 more sleeping pills, jumped in bed, and covered his head, thinking I should have listened to my parents. Disturbing things caught on camera. While out on a walk, this young lady sees something that is very disturbing. Watch this. She saw something terrifying. On a hot summer day, a family of 4 moved into an old house previously owned by a woman who had recently passed away. As the youngest child settled into her new room, she noticed a small window with a strange nail on the windowsill. All of a sudden, despite the sweltering summer heat, an unexpected chill filled the air. Out of the corner of her eye, she spotted a black figure looming where the window was. Terrified, she ran to tell her parents what she saw, but they were not sure if she was telling the truth or another one of her stories. Her father decided to investigate and grabbed his old bat, but when they arrived to her door, it was locked from the inside. Her father pushed against the door with all of his might until it finally opened. When they looked through the window, nothing was there. She'd done something horrifying. After years of being in the shadows of her older sister Melody, who was universally adored by family and peers alike, Amanda had enough. She was determined to demonstrate that although Melody excelled at everything, there was still something that she could do better than her. With this thought in mind, she decided to create a painting of her sister's corpse as a reference to showcase her talent for art. Collecting just the right materials took months, but when the masterpiece was finished, those who witnessed it unveiled felt a mix of horror and confusion. Then her mom asked, where did she get the reference? And Amanda answered, Melody's corpse. Their life was perfect until Clarissa and her husband had been happily married for a decade, but this morning suddenly changed everything. When he woke up, the bedroom walls were covered in psychotic rambling, and he knew that something wasn't right. Going downstairs to confront what he feared deep down, his worst nightmares were confirmed. Clarissa was standing at the kitchen counter cutting off 2 of her fingers with a knife and throwing them into a pan with olive oil. She calmly told him that they were going on an unexpected journey together, where shadows would be their guide to paradise. On the table sat 2 nooses. It seemed they were heading to a dark place. Her daughter was talking to a ghost. When Jessica's daughter was 2, she found her twirling paper towel tubes tied to twine in the air. Jessica asked her what she was doing, and she said that she was practicing her nunchucks. Jessica was very confused as her daughter had no way of knowing what nunchucks even were. She asked her what she meant, and she said that Adam had told her how to make them and showed her how to use them each night before bed. She went on to say that Adam had told her to practice because she might need to use them one day to defend herself. Jessica was surprised, so she asked her daughter to describe Adam. Her daughter responded by saying he had blonde hair, blue eyes, and a tall stature. Mommy, you know who he is, she said. He died from a headache. This hit Jessica like an arrow because 4 months before her daughter was born, her beloved friend with blonde hair and blue eyes had passed away at the age of 27 due to a brain aneurysm. This wasn't a normal wedding. John stood there watching as his future father-in-law held his daughter's hand as he walked down the aisle. His eyes were filled with tears, understanding that in a matter of minutes, he would witness John take her hand and slip a ring on her finger. At the altar, John finally held her hand, grinning from ear to ear. He had never felt so happy before. Suddenly, the bride's father dropped to his knees and started begging, I did what you asked, please give me my daughter back. John looked at him saying, be quiet, if you sit down and enjoy the wedding, maybe I'll tell you where I've hidden the rest of her body. What happened to Daddy? Tommy's mom had a habit of going out every Saturday night, so his dad would take him to go get ice cream after dinner, just the 2 of them. Around dinner time, Tommy goes to the kitchen to see what Daddy is cooking, but he isn't there. He saw a note on the counter that said Mommy and Uncle James were going somewhere together. He wasn't sure as he doesn't read very well. He soon finds Daddy in the garage, so he shuts the door behind him like he was supposed to do. He looks back and he sees his dad in the front seat with the car engine already turned on. It seems like they won't be having dinner tonight, only ice cream. Since he's not a big boy yet, he climbs up into the back seat. He tells his dad hello, but he doesn't receive an answer. He thinks to himself, well, maybe he can't hear me over the loud sound of the car. And he lays his head down to take a nap on his way to get ice cream. He's feeling kind of sleepy. It wasn't really their friend. Beth and her sister Betty had fond memories of their time in their old farmhouse. They loved discovering its hidden corners and playing in the old apple tree. But the best part was what they referred to as their motherly ghost, which they affectionately named Mother. Every morning she would leave them with a cup of water on each nightstand before they woke up, worried that they might get thirsty overnight. They could also feel her presence in the antique wooden chair that would always sit against the wall in the living room. Whenever Beth and Betty was busy, it would move closer to them, almost as if it wanted to keep an eye on them. When they moved out, Beth found a chilling newspaper article about how the original occupant, a widow, had poisoned her 2 children by leaving water for them on the nightstand at night, and then took her own life by hanging herself from a beam underneath her body. Was the same wooden chair placed exactly in the center of the room. Who answered her phone? Kate was being rushed out of her house last night by her friend. They were off to catch an opening act at a local bar's music night. After a few drinks, Kate suddenly realized that her phone wasn't in her pocket. She frantically checked the table they were sitting at, then the bar and the bathrooms, but with no luck. With no other option, Kate was forced to use her friend's phone to call hers. And after 2 rings, someone picked up and let out a low, raspy giggle before hanging up, never answering again. She finally gives up the search and heads home, only to find her phone laying on her nightstand right where she left it. What was happening to his son? David went to say goodnight to his son as it was routine, since he knew that his son had trouble sleeping if he didn't. It was a sort of silent tradition between them, one that he never forgot to attend. The room was dimly lit by a lamp, but the father could see that there was something unusual about his kid tonight. He looked the same, just with a huge grin stretching from ear to ear. "Are you okay, buddy?" he asked. The son nodded, still grinning, before saying, "Daddy, check for monsters under my bed." The father chuckled and got on his knees to take a look. There, under the bed, was his son, his real son. Pale, trembling, and scared to death, he whispered, "Daddy, there's someone in my bed." Creepy Facts Part 1. 20% of children hear voices. If you shiver for no reason, it means a spirit is passing near you. Follow for more creepy facts. Messed Up History Part 1. At the age of 14, George Stanley Jr. was the youngest person ever sentenced to death in the United States. He was executed by electric chair for the murder of 2 white girls. 70 years later, his innocence was proven by a judge in South Carolina. Did this cause the Chernobyl disaster? It was a few days before the Chernobyl disaster when several workers at the nuclear plant saw a massive black bird with bright red glowing eyes. On April 20th, 1986, when the reactor started to melt down, this mysterious creature flew up from the main nuclear emissions tower and vanished. The supernatural phenomenon earned it the name of the Black Bird of Chernobyl, and has sparked much speculation over its purpose. What could this possibly mean? Was it an omen or a sign of something more sinister? Whatever its origin, one thing is certain: the Black Bird of Chernobyl will remain an enigma shrouded in mystery. His victims were mostly young, and then Is the Disney Wonder covering up something sinister? The mysterious disappearance of Rebecca Corrin, a young woman working aboard the Disney Wonder cruise ship in 2011, has left unanswered questions. After CCTV footage showed her talking on an internal phone line and acting visibly distressed, she was never seen or heard from again. Despite Disney's statements that a rogue wave had washed her overboard, further investigations revealed that the footage had been cropped and the slippers they claimed to be hers belonged to another crew member. Rumor has it that she could have been sexually assaulted and murdered, but with all the false evidence Disney provided in the case, many are still asking questions about what happened to Rebecca Corrin. Was this man from another dimension? In July 1954, a peculiar mystery unfolded in Tokyo. A businessman arrived at the custom desk, his passport issued from a place called Tord that did not exist on any map. He pointed to a door when questioned, but claimed that he had never heard of this principality. He had documents or reservations that no one seemed to know about, leaving the officials very confused. They placed him under supervision at a hotel for the night, only to find out that in the morning, he, as well as all of his documents, had disappeared without a trace. Deadly True Love. The story of Dr. Carl Trassler and his macabre love affair with Elena has long been discussed in medical circles. After tragically losing her to death, Carl could not let go and instead snuck into her tomb and brought her body home. For 7 years, he kept her in the house, preserving the corpse the best he could, treating it like a mannequin. It wasn't until someone spotted him dancing with the corpse in the moonlight that his secret was discovered, a dark reminder that even death cannot prevent true love from prevailing. Scary things hidden in pictures. In 2005, a bus in UUM was unfortunately filled beyond capacity and toppled over into an adjacent river. The tragedy was captured in a photograph that seemed normal until closer inspection revealed something disturbing: the image of a lake monster or ghost-like creature under the bridge right next to the accident. Have you ever heard of the urban legend Polybus? It is said to be one of the most sinister video games that never existed. Set in an arcade in Portland, Oregon during the 1980s, this vector graphic game involved players shooting geometric shapes while sounds and objects flashed on screen. There have been reports that it caused side effects such as headaches, migraines, seizures, and even suicide. Even more mysteriously, mysterious men in black were said to make frequent visits to inspect Bolivia's machine before taking notes and leaving without a word. After a few months, it is rumored that the machine was quietly removed from all arcades in Portland without explanation. The company behind Sinus Solutions, translated in English as 3 Deprivation, had ties to psychological government experiments conducted at the time. Could this be a gateway to another world? Tales of haunted places and mysterious phenomenon have always intrigued us. Have you heard about the Kiyotaki Tunnel in Kyoto, Japan? It's known to be one of the most haunted spots in all of Japan. This tunnel was built by slaves during the 1920s, and it's said that those who drive through it can hear women screaming from a nearby forest and experience certain fatigue, headaches, and nausea. Is our world bigger than we've been told? For centuries, many have speculated that there might be hidden continents or even entire worlds beyond the 7 that we know about. Could it be true? Could Antarctica be hiding a giant ice wall that protects an unknown land of secrets and mysteries? And if so, what lies beyond the wall? Is it a world of prehistoric creatures and extraterrestrial life, or is it something greater and more powerful than we could ever imagine? One thing's for sure, if these continents exist, they're keeping their secrets closely guarded. We may never know the truth unless someone discovers a map to unlock these mysterious lands.